أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله أصحابه أجمعين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته اللهم إنا نسألك علما نافعا ورزقا طيبا. Good day to all of you. Today's video is a follow-up on the video that I had uploaded on the ancient Kedah civilization. In that, I talked about the spread of Indianization and then the kewujudan, Lembah Bujang, and about Kedah Tua. Today, I'm going to go to another topic that is about the maritime, the golden era of the maritime period of Asia as well as Southeast Asia. Here I'm going to emphasize the role of the monsoon winds in the golden era of the maritime industry. Now, if we had followed my videos before, I would have started off with the Silk Road. What happens is about 2000 years ago, trade was very important between China right up to Rome. It took about 4 months of the caravan route to conduct the trade. But what happened is this trade had faced a lot of hazardous situations. Like for instance, they had to travel by caravans. There was a caravan. It was also known as a caravan route. So they utilized camels, hundreds of camels, but these camels could not carry a lot of goods. They were subjected to the severe weather and the deserts, the mountain regions. So this was creating a lot of impact on the camels. And secondly, they used to have these highway robbers or the caravan robbers, they call them, who will come from the back and cut off hundreds of camels and they loot the items that the traders were carrying. So they were looking for an alternate route. And the alternate route that was available was the oceans and the seas to the south of the Asian peninsula. This was known as the maritime route. The maritime route started from the Abbasid Caliphate, the Fatimid Caliphate of Egypt, right to India, and from India, the Chola dynasty and the Pallava dynasty, and towards Southeast Asia. In Southeast Asia, the most important empire was the Malay Empire called Srivijaya. Srivijaya controlled the Straits of Malacca, which was a very, very important sort of bottleneck for the route, the maritime route. And these traders used to go travel as far as China. Likewise, the Chinese used to bring the number one goods that the Chinese traded was silk, because only China produced silk. So the Chinese used to send silk, and the silk used to be taken as far as Rome, because the Roman, especially the Roman women, loved silk because of its elegance, its color, and its design. And from Southeast Asia was the leading producer of uh, spices. India was producing spices, China was also producing spices, but the spices of Southeast Asia were of very high quality, and the Malay Peninsula was then known as Golden Chestnuts or Suvarna Bhumi. That means there was gold in the Malay Peninsula. So Chinese as well as Indian traders came for the spices as well as the gold in Suvarna Bhumi. They call it Suvarna Bhumi in Sanskrit means land of gold. So that is where I left. Now today we'll go to the topic of the monsoon winds. So as I stated earlier, it was the Silk Road. It was long and treacherous. The weather was the greatest factor. Camel caravans used to be robbed, and this is the route. You start from you start from Peking here, Beijing, right through the Indian region subcontinent. Then you go to these Arab areas as far as Constantinople. And so what happens is how what contributed to the greatness of the maritime trade? That is because of the empires during that period. These empires, as well as the emperors and the kings, they gave great support to trade. So the traders were very lucky because they had the sanction, the blessings, and the support of the kings. So you find the Fatimid Empire of Egypt, the Abbasid Caliphate, the Cholas, the Srivijayan Empire, and the Khmer Kingdom of Cambodia as well as China. They supported, the kings and the rulers supported, and that is the one that encouraged trade. Now, in order to contract the trade in the of maritime route, the most important factor was the monsoon wind. The monsoon wind played a very important role because these were boats. The persons who were very well known for building boats were the Arabs. They had big boats and they used to take the barks of trees and use cloth to tighten it because they cannot use nails which will rust in the seas. So they made their boats in such a way that not a drop of water could go in. So the Indians copied from the Arabs, and in the Asian region, the Malays were called Orang Laut, and they were using this Kapal Laut, and they were trading for. There was intra trade, for instance, from Srivijaya to Srivijaya to the provinces Jambi, then Panay. Here you have Kuala Selising, right up to Kedah. So they were also good traders. And the Chinese used to have these Chinese junks. The Chinese junks were also very popular. It is, for instance, when Admiral Cheng Ho used to travel from China right up to Arabia, he was using the maritime route. And it is stated that in this travel, Admiral Cheng Ho will perform his Hajj 3 times. So the monsoon is the one that is assisting the boats. So if the Chinese are coming from there, they'll use the northeast monsoon as far as the Malay Peninsula to India, and then they have to wait for the monsoon to change. After 6 months, it will be the southwest monsoon, and the southwest monsoon will take them back to Srivijaya, Khmer region, as well as to China. So in fact, the monsoons help to develop the rise of civilizations. For instance, all the countries, the civilization at that time are all agriculture based. Agriculture means you need water. You need water, you need canals, you need rivers. And the monsoon used to bring huge amounts of water. And the rivers used to be flooded high. So it became the riverine routes were also played an important role. And there was cultural transmission from, for instance, the Arabs brought their culture, the Chinese brought their culture, and the Indians. So the monsoons also played an important part in cultural transmission. And finally, it is the monsoons that played a very important part in the spread of religions. For instance, Christianity came from Europe. They traveled, the Jesuit priests used to bring Christianity. Then the Indians brought Hinduism and Buddhism to the Southeast Asia. And Buddhism will travel from India right to China. And finally, Islam is brought by the Arabs using the monsoon winds. So these are the major religions which benefit from the monsoon winds and the trade. And as I had stated earlier, what were the goods that were traded? Silk from China. Then you have spices and gold from Southeast Asia. For instance, sandalwood, cardamom, pepper, cloves, nutmeg, cinnamon, and gold. And cotton was from India, where they make all the dresses, and horses and perfumes from the Arab nations. These are the spices which are very popular during that period. Now, in order to have a vibrant trade among the nations, you need you need somebody to give the support. So the traders needed support. The kings and the rulers gave them support. For instance, the Sung and the Tang emperors were very interested in trading with the other outside world in comparison to other emperors. Then you have the Sailendra kings and Srivijaya, which were very important trading kingdoms. Then you have the Kalingas, the Pallavas, and Cholas of India. Then the Arab rulers, Egyptians and Arabs, and even the Khmers used to come and trade with Southeast Asian nations as well as far as India. Now, the one thing that one contribution was the Indianization of Southeast Asia. The Indianization of Southeast Asia, the first leaders or the people who bring Indian influence here were the Pallavas. The Pallavas used to come, and if you can see the traces of the Pallavas, if you take the Isthmus of Kra, on the Isthmus of Kra, you have these places called Takwapa, Chaya, Nakonsi Tamarat, Suratani. And if you go there, you'll find the remnants. The Pallavas were followers or worshippers of Vishnu. So you'll find a lot of Vishnus. Whereas subsequently the Cholas will come. Cholas were followers of Shiva and Linga. So you find that if you go to the Isthmus of Kra, you'll find the remnants of all those things that the Cholas and the Pallavas left behind. And at that time, there were a lot of trading guilds in all of the countries. and the king supported, gave them financial support as well as security, and that is why trade flourished using the monsoon wind. So this is the Pallava Empire. They were earlier than the Cholas. Then the Cholas would come from India, conquer Burma, the Malay Peninsula, Sri Vijaya, and travel as far as China using the monsoon wind. So what are the winds? When the south, as I had stated earlier, the southwest monsoon, the Chinese traders used to use. Then the missionaries, like for example, Ai Tseng, Fa Xian, they brought Buddhism from India back to China using the monsoon wind. And then the other kingdoms that flourished during that period were the Sailendras, Sri Vijaya, and the Khmer Empire. Now, the monsoon winds, the rise and fall of empires, as I stated earlier, as far as even Myanmar benefited from the monsoon winds. So the monsoon wind, in short, the monsoon wind played a very, very important and vital role in the maritime trade of Asia as well as Southeast Asia. And then subsequently, you find the rise of Indianized kingdoms in Asia as well as Southeast Asia. And this is the topic that I wanted to emphasize today. And saya sudahi dengan wabila wa taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Nandri, vanakkam.